Hello everyone, TimeToGrind here, and today I wanted to talk about Revita. And Revita is a new fast-paced 2D platforming roguelite that just came out in early access that is a ton of fun and has a pretty unique mechanic of sacrificing your health to get more powerful. And before we jump into the review, I do just want to let you guys know that I was given a review copy of the game in order to make a video for you all. I never let that influence my reviews, I just like staying as transparent as possible. So right off the bat, Revita has a very interesting gimmick that it combines with pretty solid gameplay. And the gimmick is that your health is not only what keeps you alive, but it's also the main currency in the game. So say you find a shopkeeper in your run, he won't be charging you coins to buy his items, he'll be charging you some of your health. Also, if you find a chest in a run, most of the times you're going to have to sacrifice one of your hearts in order to even open it. And to counteract this, the game has a mechanic that is similar to Hollow Knight, where when you kill enemies, you gain their souls and it fills up a bar you have that you can use to regen a little bit of your health. So you're constantly going from room to room killing enemies, charging up your soul bar, and occasionally sacrificing some of your health in order to get more powerful items, stat increases, secondary weapons, and more. And at first the gimmick seems just like a simple gimmick, but the more you play, the more you notice that the entire game is built around this mechanic and balanced around it. It's not balanced perfectly, and I'll touch on that later in the review, but for the most part you can tell that the game is built around the core idea, and that's definitely really good. The gameplay itself is pretty solid and about what you would expect. You go from level to level using an elevator, and you fire a very short range gun at enemies until they're all dead and you clear the room. You can wall jump and dash through things in order to become invincible momentarily to avoid getting hit by all of the enemy projectiles or getting cornered as well. And at first your range is very short, so you really have to get decently close to enemies to fight them, which is obviously not the best because they can fire projectiles out pretty fast that you're going to need to avoid. So honestly, in the game, I was so much happier when I found range upgrades instead of like damage upgrades, which is completely opposite from most roguelites, and it's not a bad thing, just kind of something interesting about the game. And the main thing I love about the gameplay is that it is extremely fast paced. There isn't any exploration or anything because you're literally just going up levels in an elevator. You go in the room, kill the enemies that spawn, and then go back in the elevator. There are secret rooms that you can find by shooting walls, but that's about the extent of the exploration as far as I can tell. And I actually love this because that keeps the runs really fast. Unlike some roguelites that can have runs that last like 2 to 3 hours, a single run of Revita lasted me about 20 to 30 minutes, which felt perfect for me. It's a great roguelite to pick up if you only have a little time and want to just have an action-packed, fast-paced game. And with it just now launching in early access, I have to say the game does not seem buggy at all. It honestly feels like it could be a fully launched roguelite right now. It's got decent progression, which I will touch on in a second. There aren't any major bugs or crashes that I experienced. The gameplay is solid and there's a decent amount of content. It's one of those early access launches that gets the foundations down first, and then obviously they're going to focus more on the content later. So there definitely will be things added to the game, including more areas, more bosses, more enemies, and the game definitely is going to need those to stay fresh, as right now you kind of just fight through the exact same areas and bosses each run. My only complaint with the game, however, is that the progression has a little bit of a slow and frustrating start. Overall, the progression in itself is pretty good. You know, you can find keys that unlock new things like items that you can buy with an out-of-game currency you earn. Also, there's other NPCs in the hub world that do some similar things where you can find keys to unlock like progression items to the dungeon itself that make the game a lot easier and function a lot more normally. And this is the part that I think needs a little work on, and it's kind of hard to explain, but when you first start the game, you might be really frustrated because you're going to be taking damage learning the game, obviously, and because of that, you're not going to be able to get any items at all because you won't have any health to sacrifice. So you can't open up chests, you can't buy anything from the shop, you can't get cool items at the altars because you have no health to spare because you're learning the game and you're taking some damage. And that wouldn't be a problem because you gain soul from killing enemies, but at the beginning of the game, you get like absolutely no souls from enemies. You have to eventually upgrade the out-of-game progression to allow you to get more souls from killing enemies with things like a combo meter or adding more ways to gain souls in runs, and once you get a couple of those progression items, the game feels a lot more balanced, but the first couple runs really frustrated me because it felt like I was just being forced to play the game completely completely vanilla and not get any items. And I know that this is solved by playing more and getting better and getting those progression items, which I did, but I honestly think it may turn some people off, as to me anyways, it just felt like the core mechanic and gimmick was not balanced or working correctly when I first started playing before I got all of those upgrades. Beyond that, I think the game could maybe present all of the different upgrades and unlocks in a slightly better way that doesn't make you only focus on the dungeon progression items that I've been talking about and completely ignoring the new item unlocks, because for me, I was mainly wanting to just upgrade the dungeon and make myself, have a better chance of doing well instead of unlocking new items. So I still haven't really unlocked a ton of new items because I've mainly been focusing on the dungeons and stuff like that. Other than my complaints with the progression systems and early game balancing and a want for more content, which we will obviously get, I think the game is in a very solid place for it to just have now launched in early access. The art style is a really nice pixel art theme, and the music is pretty good as well, though I would love to hear a little bit more variety in the music personally. And one thing I want to applaud Revita for is its accessibility options. There are a ton of options, like allowing you to put outlines on yourself and enemies, which I actually turned on, slowing down the game speed, turning auto aim on, making the font more readable, and a ton more. And it's just always awesome to see games have more options that might help more people play the game that previously couldn't. So overall, if you are a fan of these 2D platforming roguelites, I would actually recommend the game even now at the launch of early access, as I do think that there is a decent amount of content worth the asking price of $15, especially with some of the ascension levels and things that the game has, but I also wouldn't blame you if you wanted to wait until the game officially came out so there's even more content in the game. Also, if you want to help support the channel and buy Revita as well, then check out the top link in the description to get the game on my official game store. It gives you a Steam key and really helps support the channel, as it gives me a small cut along with helping support the developers as well. But if you guys have played Revita or just from watching gameplay, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. And if you want to see even more gameplay of Revita, then definitely check out the Let's Play series I have going on right now. Also, if you enjoy roguelites as much as I do, then consider subscribing and ringing that bell like all the big boy YouTubers say. I make a ton of Let's Plays and reviews and live streams mainly on roguelites, so subscribe to see those in the future. But if you guys are going to be grinding out some games of Revita, then I wish you luck and see you all next time.